of champagne to wash it down. Let's talk to Jonathan Davis, the economist and wealth manager. Hello, Jonathan. Morning.
Good morning, Vanessa.
Is this, as far as you can see, a step towards justice and a good day?
It's the smallest step in history towards justice and a good day. Talk about nabbing a corporal and putting him in the clink. What about the captains? Never mind that. What about the generals? Until we start prosecuting bank generals,
yes,
nothing will change, and criminal acts in the wonderful and gleaming city of London will continue every single day.
I mean, you say that, but this guy, Tom Hayes, he was the guy writing the emails. He was the guy pounding the phones. He was the guy saying, so easy to fix the LIBOR, even Mother Teresa would do it if she were trading. It was him. You don't get the impression that his boss is saying, Tom, have you lent on this fellow over there at Citibank? Have you lent on this fellow over there? Tom, bring me your results. Who have you defrauded and how have you done it today? It looks as if he's a pretty autonomous dude, doesn't it?
Not in the slightest.
Ah.
There were hundreds of these criminals around the world involved in these practices, and the idea, the suggestion that you're making that his bosses and their bosses didn't know what was going on, well, for goodness sake, I mean, this is the real world. They all knew what was going on. They're all part of it. And, you know, this is only about LIBOR interest rate manipulation.
Yeah.
There's other criminal acts. There's the interest rate swaps, which have screwed small businessmen up and down the country. There's the money laundering for drug cartels. These are proven acts of criminal activity. Banks around the world have been fined tens of billions of dollars, pounds, whatever, because of these various ongoing criminal acts. But all we've seen is a single corporal, you may call him a sergeant, you might even call him a lieutenant, prosecuted and jailed. For goodness sake, this is rife. This has been rife for years, for decades, within the global banking industry. It's so well known, it's laughable. I'm on Twitter every day and I see evidence, not suggestion. I see evidence on Twitter almost every day about this stuff going on, and all they can do is prosecute one low-level or medium-level guy.
Why is it true, do you think, that Bob Diamond, for example, who was sacked after Barclays faced a £290 million fine in 2012, has founded another bank? It's an African bank called Atlas Mara. He hasn't faced any charges. Fred Goodwin, the boss of RBS, still enjoys, as one of my listeners pointed out, a pension beyond the dreams of avarice, you know, that anyone could even imagine, funded by the taxpayer. Andy Hornby, the H-boss banker who forged it downfall, he's got a great career as the nation's top bookie at Corals. Why is it that the top brass are still brazening it out to this degree?
Because they know they can. The politicians and the central bankers, the Bank of England and the regulators have, whether expressly or impliedly, accepted that bankers basically should be able to do whatever they want to do. Let's go back a little bit in time to the massive debt bubble which built up into 2008. The bankers, Never mind just the lending on mortgages, lending to Greece and Portugal and Spain at the same interest rates that they were lending to Germany. So, you know, reckless lending was rife. It still is in many ways. Why? Because they knew that they would get bailed out when it all hit the fan. You and I have discussed this many times.
Yes, on the day. We discussed it on the day. Do you remember? I think you came in person on the day. I remember it very clearly.
In person.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they were bailed out because they impliedly or expressly, the politicians have said, bankers, do whatever you want to do, because in the short run, it creates taxes for us politicians to do what we want to do. We need to seriously alter our policies towards the banking industry. We need to stop bailing them out every day. We need to stop letting them get away with proverbial, some would say literal, murder. We need to say to them, look, the next time you mess up, you're not going to be bailed out. You are going to go bust. And those of you who have got millions or tens or hundreds of millions of stock options in your banks, they will be valueless. And that is the way we're going to end all this criminality.
Some people are saying that this guy, Tom Hayes, 14 years in prison, is a scapegoat. It's too much. It's too strong a sentence. He doesn't deserve it. He shouldn't be going to prison for 14 years. It's very unusual, isn't it? A double-digit sentence for a white-collar crime. Do you think, though, that this is the right message that the Mr. Justice, whatever his name is sending out, that, this is a sledgehammer sentence and everybody needs to take note?
My understanding is that for the acts for which he's been found guilty, this is the appropriate sentence that the judge has handed down. Oh my goodness, 14 years, which means basically 7 years. Oh, I feel so sorry for the man who acted criminally for 5 years. No, I'm sorry. This guy and his colleagues around the world, they indirectly will have detrimentally affected the finances of goodness knows how many millions of folk. White collar, as if to say, well, it's not so bad. I mean, after all, he didn't murder anyone. Well, no, he didn't. But it's a crime, and they stole from lots and lots of folk. If that's the appropriate sentence, I don't understand the sentencing laws, but if that's the appropriate sentence, then it works for me. But they've not nabbed the wrong person. There are far more appropriate people they should be nabbing, and that's the question we should be posing to the authorities hour after hour. Why are we not getting these guys?
Final question. So you say he didn't murder anyone, but he was committing criminal activity for 5 years. This is the right sentence. He will have caused financial privation, or he will have had an effect on the finances of, as you say, people throughout the world. But you and me and my lovely listeners, as we go about our business, taking out 75 quid to hope to get us through the weekend, or hoping that we can afford our holiday, or thinking, oh no, I've had a holiday and I've got to buy the children's shoes in September. God, it's an expensive month, don't fancy that kind of thing. Has he had an effect on us?
To do with the interest rate manipulation, only in a marginal way. But it's the whole banking industry thing. If we hadn't impliedly said to the banks, we're going to bail you out, whatever, and if we, in effect, didn't say to the bankers, if you commit a criminal act, however, quote, important, unquote, you are, we will put you in jail and throw the key away. Because of that, they get away with proverbial murder. We need to start throwing the book at these guys, because it does affect us in our day-to-day lives. Now, we've talked about house prices so many times, but I want to bring it to that example. Lending was reckless up until 2008 for about 10 years, which pushed up house prices, and in London, of course, they're still dramatically high. Look how difficult it is for probably more than a half of the London population because of the price of accommodation. And that, I can tell you, is largely down to easy lending. Take away the easy lending, house prices will fall, and normal people will have a far better standard of living.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Jonathan Davis.